the city that you're from. My name is Varna and I am streaming from Bangalore. Okay, someone's name is Success. That's a great name. Okay, someone from Mumbai, Abhijit from Pune. Okay. Shaheen, hi, Sarabjit, Aditya, Rakesh. Nice to have you guys. Janak, Chaitanya. Oh, you okay, from a secret bunker in New Jersey, right? Nice to have you, Bill. Right. So you also saw Bill's introduction there on the chat. Very interesting introduction. I didn't know you were in a bunker though. Interesting. We'll hear about that story later. Alina, hi. Ahmed from Qatar. Okay. Kiran Mai from Hyderabad. Okay, a lot of you from different time zones, people on YouTube. It'd be great to also see your introductions. Just let us know your name and the city that you're from. Yeah, great, great. So we're just about to get started. You know why we're all here. We're here to understand how you can become an ethical hacker, right? Steps that you can follow. Yes. So are you guys already learning about ethical hacking? Are you certified, planning to get certified? Just give a quick yes or a no. Are you already certified? Yeah. Yes, if you're already certified. No, if yeah, you're not planning to. Okay, you're doing a CH course, Alina. Okay, just joined course preparing for CH V13. All right. No, not certified yet. Planning to get certified. Right, right. Okay, you are a gray. Okay, right. Okay, amazing. Some of you are already a part of our courses. Some of you are taking up cybersecurity training with us somewhere else already, which is great, right? Some of you are beginners, which is okay. So we are here to understand your path, your learning journey, what kind of trends are coming up in ethical hacking, what kind of skills you will need to have develop, okay, and how you can do that. So Bill is here to take you through the session. I'll introduce him to you shortly. But also another question to you guys. Are you hearing Simplilearn for the first time, coming across such a webinar for the first time? A yes, if you are a first timer. No, you have already attended our webinars. Oh, so if you're not a first timer, it'll be interesting for me to know when you attended. Did you happen to attend our previous webinar as well with Bill? It'll be interesting to know that as well. Okay, great. Great. Thanks so much for your responses. For people attending Simplilearn webinars for the first time, just a quick introduction about Simplilearn, right? So Simplilearn offers skills in various domains, cybersecurity being one of them. And in our 14, 15-year-old journey, we've touched more than 8 million careers worldwide. We've got learners from 150 plus countries, right? So we've also got accreditations for most of our courses, and we've got 1,000 plus qualified trainers for taking you through these courses. We already know what you should do when you have questions. Let's say you have a question for Bill. What you do is put it on the Q&A box, and do not worry if you miss something. You can always ask a question and get it clarified later, right? So about webinar certificate, you will receive a poll towards the end of the session. You can enter your name there. And once you receive your certificate tomorrow, anytime tomorrow, you should be receiving your certificate. You can share it on LinkedIn and also tag Bill there. Okay, so just some ground rules so that you don't have these basic questions. These are out of the way and you're ready for the session, right? So before that, let me introduce Bill, who has amazing, interesting, and also a diverse background. He's got experience as a consultant across domains, finance, healthcare, also national infrastructure. He's, along with being a trainer, he's also a curriculum developer. right? So he's an information privacy and risk professional. He's got immense experience there. So welcome, Bill, once again. It's going to be great listening to you from that bunker. But yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself as well. You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, well, that's one of the, listening is very important, and I try to listen there and make sure there's no strange noises. In this bunker though, it's fairly quiet, but every so often there's some rumblings. Uh, I'm glad to be here. I've been actually involved with Simplilearn. Oh gosh, what do we hit? I think we're like 13 and a half, 14 years, something like that. I have to go
Okay.
back and look at the activity records. I'm like, wow, that long. And it's been a blast. I mean, because I've taught courses, here in the United States. I've taught courses over in Germany. I teach a lot of classes online. And but I work in the field during the day. It's we're going through documentation. We're working with security assessments. I'm hiring a security assessor, whatever it may be, whatever that role needs me to do.
Mm.
And it's you know, I don't know. It started as something that was just fun to do, and then along the way, it just sort of snowballed. And it's a lot of fun to talk about and to recruit more people because, there's that. Is there a shortage of cybersecurity jobs? Well, there's more and more cybersecurity needs. I'm
Mm.
just looking at bulletins this week, and Microsoft has 2 0 days. On top of the Google Chrome, which
Mm.
is in the known exploited list. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here and looking forward to talk to people about how do you become an ethical hacker, which you get
Yeah,
permission to break
absolutely.
things. It's fun.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get started then, Bill. So would you also take them through how what exactly ethical hacking is first before we talk about the upskilling roadmap?
Okay. Well, I joke around, breaking things. But it's breaking things with permission is sort of that's the fun definition. Because you're testing a system, and the reason you're testing them is that you are testing the system before the malicious actor tests it. Because you have permission. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, and you say, I'm going to use the skills of the malicious actors. And if I find something, I'm going to tell you about it so that you can defend your systems.
Sorry.
Or during the development process, before they roll it out, they can actually include those fixes, those updates. So you have experts that use the skills of malicious actors to see if a system if it has vulnerabilities that can be exploited
Mm.
before other people do. And
Right.
organizations, they want to protect their information
Mm.
because it's the right thing to do. But there's also fines, legal implications, and there have been organizations that what is it now? Change Healthcare had to change their name to Optum because Change Healthcare had that breach last year. They've now changed their name to Optum. So
Wow.
yeah, it like the business as it was known, it was so tainted they had to change the name of their business.
Wow. Okay. That's an interesting insight or anecdote. But tell me, apart from changing business names, so what has happened recently with cyber threats and how is it directly impacting demand for ethical hackers? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think that number one had to be at the top of the list, the ransomware, because with ransomware, this is now a self-fulfilling, self-propelling malicious activity. You make a profit off of this. And the ransomware has evolved to the point where it's twofold. Because the original ransomware, they said, well, we've encrypted all your files and you're not getting your files back until you pay us. And then they got smart and they realized, well, wait a minute, we could do two threats. We will release the files, we'll release the data on the dark web,
Mm.
or if it's embarrassing enough, we'll release it to the general public. So you owe us a ransom for that too.
Right.
So the ransomware, and it's all set up, and of course you pay them. Um, and so once you pay them, they could do more. So it's the perfect enterprise. It's the business that just keeps growing more and more business.
Mhm.
So ransomware has evolved with that, the fact that they could get that ransom twice, and the fact that it's very easy to you don't even have to know. There's literally ransomware as a service. I can't joke about it. It exists. Uh, Now, artificial intelligence or AI, we see AI, it automates. And that's one of the biggest changes with the CEH version 13 is you're like, okay, I can still do the manual tools, but now I can have AI work through that automatically and give me a concise answer.
Mhm.
The supply chain attack. We've seen supply chain attacks. SolarWinds has been the poster child that we still look at, and they're still reeling from it. The business or the suppliers or the partners. What was it? Kaseya was a big one, where they were a managed service provider, a managed security provider, and so Kaseya was breached, and now organizations trusted Kaseya, and so now they're breached. And that's why I mentioned Change Healthcare, because that's another. You go to a doctor and okay, I'm going to my local doctor, and you don't realize that your doctor is using Change Healthcare or United Healthcare, because there is a supply chain even in healthcare.
Right.
Um, so the Internet of Things, um, at this point, what is not connected to the internet? It's your thermostats, it's your light bulbs, it's your cars, it's your vacuum cleaners, it's your televisions, it's all your small devices that we count on, your medical devices, like CPAP machines. What is it? Inspire is the one that goes in your chest for sleep apnea, and it's connected to the internet. And so we're seeing those, uh,
Mhm.
water systems that were never designed to be connected to the internet, right?
Mhm.
And quantum computing is coming, and what's going to happen is quantum computing is going to just exponentially ramp up the power that folks have, because they'll be able to do more in less time.
Right.
And so we rely upon encryption to protect our data. Well, if I can break and part of that theory is that it takes me too long to break it. But now if I have quantum computing, well, wait, now I can break that encryption. Now it's within my lifetime. It's worth it for me to do it. Absolutely.
Right.
And I
So
see some of the comments. I think, do we have a slide that talks about the workflow? I know definitely we have a slide that talks about the domains of the EC Council curriculum, and
yes.
and I, we could talk about the workflow at that point. I could try to
Yeah,
make sure I
exactly,
make sure we
Shahid. So
talk
we'll
about
come
that.
to that. Yes, we'll definitely come to that. Here we're just talking about how are cyber threats evolving, and the class, I mean, the session also has a lot of beginners. So this is a great way to understand what you should be prepared for, right? Along with this, I
And I'll
also,
answer
yeah, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
the one question: can your heart hack your PC? No, no. Um, but we could hack your. I think you're talking well, the echocardiograms, you're not really hacking your heart, but I could alter the results. I
Wow.
could manipulate the results. So,
Mhm.
we're not actually going to, attack and we're not going to, usually not going to go from the medical device into a PC, but people do oftentimes have a shared network. And we did see that years ago with Target. Target had an HVAC vendor who came in, and the
Mm,
HVAC vendor had access, and it leaped. They got access to the HVAC network, and then they hopped over to the point of sale machines. Now, maybe it wasn't one hop; it might have been a couple hops, but you get the idea. Is like once you get your foothold, and to that point, that question about the the workflow, right? At a high level, you want to find a way in, and so you
mm,
perform reconnaissance. You figure
mm,
out who your target is. Who is my target? Where are they? Actually, that's part of why I sort of say, yes, I'm in a secret bunker. I'm not going to tell you where I live, right? I'm not going to tell you I'm on vacation. right? Because that's what a hacker, right? They're going to look for open source intelligence gathering. They're going to look at publicly available information to find out about you, right? And so they're going to perform that reconnaissance. They'll use information that's out there because we do leave a trail about ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, oh, well, wait a minute. Okay, I know that organization because I see their job postings. They have XYZ. Or I know their people are this. And they get
Mm.
and they'll deliver some sort of a weapon to you
Mm.
that exploits a vulnerability.
Of course.
And of course, and that's the thing where ethical hackers, we need them because the malicious actor just has to get in once, and if they can do it in a quiet way,
Mm.
they do one of two things. They either, yeah, they're going to get more privileges on the current system that they get access to, and then they're going to say, okay, what else is nearby? Let me go find the other things that are attractive. And with the ransomware, I think I sort of alluded to the, they're not just breaking in for the fun of it. This is not like, people like, oh, what's hacking about? And I'll say, you want to see a good, just a sort of an idea. The movie War Games has stood the test of time. The kid wasn't really evil, but he got in and he did damage. And what could happen when things go awry? So uh, so he hopped in. He got access to one thing. He got access to something else. And of course now, 30 years later, I think it's been 30 years or 40 years since that movie came out. Of
Right.
course, technology's changed, and now people are seeing how it's not just a curiosity, but it's a criminal. We have nation states and criminal syndicates that are using these malicious attacks. So, and yes, ransomware is a great way to get paid while you do it, right?
Mhm.
And if you have supply chain, if you can inject yourself in supply chain, you've just amplified your ability to cause damage.
Right, right. So I think, Bill, we've talked about what ethical hacking is, and I think everyone here is clear, but I think a lot of them are really eager to understand how they can get started, what kind of skills they need, what their roadmap is like. So we'll just get to that in a bit, but maybe how does one really get started if they are new to cybersecurity entirely? Like, what should they be learning first?
Well, understanding of TCP/IP networking,
Mm-hmm.
that is essential because you're understanding what you're attacking
Mm-hmm.
and what the vulnerabilities are at the different points. I mentioned, like, email, that's a social thing that you're exploiting, but you know, is it a web page? Is it email? Is it a firewall? And how can you get into that? Now, and I see someone saying a CCNA is mandatory for cyber. I don't think so. I
Mm.
really don't, unless you want to work on Cisco routers day in and day out. That's why you get Cisco certification, because you're
Mm.
working with Cisco routers all the time. And there is in the EC Council curriculum, there's a bit of material that talks about the OSI model, TCP/IP, and it's is the CCNA going to hurt you? No. Is the CCNA going to help? Probably. Is the CCNA mandatory? I disagree. Right. And you don't want to get pigeonholed into a vendor, and that's where EC Council is vendor agnostic. It is a wide range of tools. You do need to know Linux because most of the good tools are in Linux. I say most of, because
Mm.
every so often there are some neat tools in Windows. Like I think it's Autopsy is the one that people are like, oh well, well, I use that in Linux. I'm like, yes, and there's a Windows tool available also. Oh, well, yeah, and I can have virtual machines. So
Mm.
I can sit there and have Kali or Parrot because I see some folks are already taking some of the CEH. EC
Yeah.
Council has shifted
Yes.
to Parrot,
Yes.
but it's a total crosswalk. Like, you don't, if you learn Kali, it's a very easy to transition to Parrot and vice versa. It's familiarity with Linux, also because that's a lot of our systems. That's what they're based on. They're
Mm.
based on a Linux type of kernel because Linux is very efficient. Doesn't have the overhead that Windows has. So a lot of your technology that powers the internet is
Mm.
going to be Linux based.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, so you get that knowledge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you learn about, yeah, so you get familiar with the tools. I think the one thing that's not here is curiosity. And that is the one, it's, what can you do, right? And being able to be a little that curious persistence.
Hmm.
Um, and I think on the previous slide we had programming, and someone said, "Do I need programming?" Well,
Yeah.
Python, you need at least the scripting. If you want to delve deeper into like malware, reverse engineering, yes, you're going to need to learn C or assembly or something like that, right?
Hmm.
But you could be an ethical hacker without having to do malware analysis necessarily.
Understood, understood. So yeah, along with everything else, curiosity, like Will said, what is EC Council? So EC Council offers the CEH certification. Okay, so that's what EC Council is, and Simplilearn has partnered with EC Council to offer you this training on CEH V13. Okay, we'll talk about that in a while, Shaheen. And let's see if you've got more questions. Right. So Bill, if you can also answer this question about getting a job or becoming an ethical hacker in an organization, right? So apart from being certified, let's say someone actually goes ahead, gets certified, and is familiar with all of that you just said. How does one go about cracking that first opportunity? I mean, you can also share your experience here, but I think learners here would be curious to know about this as well.
Yep. So, a lot of times, like the first jobs, gosh, I'm going to date myself. My first, technology job involved CompUSA, which was a computer retailer.
Mhm.
And it's like it's all you do one thing and it leads to another and it leads to another. And I, so, for me, I was in, computer retail sales, and then it was, oh, what else can you do with these things? And then along the way, we learned that you could secure them and you could break into them and everything. So a lot of times, folks will start out, if as a, service desk, and I've actually seen some organizations that they require you, um, like I joined the organization and I didn't have to do the service desk because at that point I had had enough years of experience and said, okay, yep, you could go.
Mm.
But they had other people that said, no, if you're below like a couple years of experience, you have to do time on our service desk because you have to, work with people, be able to troubleshoot, right? As part of that, it's like that curious and persistence, and having that, the troubleshooting skills. And so oftentimes, yeah, you start out as a security analyst. And so you may be on the service desk. You may move into looking at logs. You may look into threat intelligence. And then, as you see more and more of this, you transition into that ethical hacker role. Um, it's you do need to, you do need to develop your practice. Now I will say that there are organizations uh, called B. One example is B-Sides.
Mm.
And B-Sides is an offshoot of DEF CON, Hacker Summer Camp, and out at Hacker Summer Camp, lots of hackers there,
Mm.
and and lots of feds there, lots of law enforcement there. You don't know who you're talking to, but they so, and B-sides are often local. And what I was getting to, so B-sides, you can learn more. And they also have capture the flags. And so you can participate in capture the flag
Mm.
exercises. And in
Mm.
fact, I've seen a couple folks, they mentioned Purdue. 'Cause in our Purdue program, we actually do, there's a couple like Try Hack Me and I'm trying to think, the other one's Hack the Box, that you can subscribe to. And that's a neat little that's a neat little flag that you can put in your sort of like a feather in your cap that you can say, okay, I did XYZ. I've done these rooms, right?
Mm. 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 Got it. Got it. Understood. Understood. So I think let's proceed now. And also one more question that we've got from Sakshi, who's joining us on YouTube, is so is there a restriction on what I mean on the domain that we are in? So let's say she's a zoology graduate and she wants to enter this field. So is that possible? Or again, would one have to be prepared with all of these things that we've mentioned in the slides? How does one go about? Yeah, changing the domain, exactly what Shashti just asked, right? So how do we change domain and still crack it?
All right. So a couple of things. Now I'll answer the first question. Getting into cybersecurity. I know some speakers who will talk about people who are baristas, and baristas make excellent cybersecurity people because they have to manage projects and they have to understand all the possible things that go into that perfect latte.
Yeah.
And they have to provide excellent customer service. Do you need a bachelor's degree? I'm going to say no. You do not necessarily need a bachelor's degree.
Hmm.
Does a bachelor's degree help? It can, because some HR departments do hang their hat on that bachelor's degree. And also I've seen it in the DoD paperwork. The DoD, their whole framework for hiring personnel, that if you have a degree, you go to the next round. It's, oh, you have a degree, go to the next round. Um, when I was, whatchamacallit, when I was snarky, one time I asked somebody, you mean I could have a degree in basket weaving? And they said yes. Okay.
Okay. You guys screen share.
So
I've
you could
not,
definitely
I've
you
not
could
changed slides, so hence you're not able to see anything change, which is why we're still talking about the skills that are needed, right? So that is why you're not able to see change of slides. We're still at the same slide, right? So do not worry. Yeah. Go on, Bill. Sorry to interrupt you.
no. So they um so yeah, having a degree sometimes gets you past the HR boundary, right? As far as becoming an ethical hacking or cybersecurity, you don't have to have a bachelor's degree at all. In fact, my own path was I got a job that paid to allow me to get my degree. Because I couldn't afford college, so I got the skills I needed. I got certifications. For me at the time, it was a lot of CompTIA certifications and Novell and Microsoft, and I found myself a job that then paid me to get my bachelor's degree and paid me to get my master's degree, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity. It's all steps at a time. Rome was not built in a day. Now I will say, demonstrating experience, I think, was the other question sort of leading there, is if you're doing a capture the flag, if you're volunteering for B-sides, that goes on your resume. Uh, if you are, and as you're going through the projects, and you know, the like for instance, the Purdue cybersecurity program, we have projects, lesson end and course end projects, and those go into what's referred to as a portfolio. So even though you don't have a lot of on-the-job experience like that you were paid for, you do have artifacts of work that you've done. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, there are ways of you build that portfolio of what you've done to get that break.
Right. Bill, if you don't mind, could you also mention the websites that you mentioned where someone can practice ethical hacking? You mentioned that in the previous conversation that we were having just a while ago. So if you have the name, I could probably search and then give the link. You can spell it.
Right. So what is it? Try hack me.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, now I just had it in my head. Hack the box. Hack the box.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Great, 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 great. Does
And usually if you're going to use those services, the people who look at those, there's a paid level, there's a free level and a paid level.
hmm, hmm,
And uh, exhaust anything that's free
hmm, hmm,
before you pay. You may be, oh, I want to go. And that's the thing, when you're developing your skills, get the foundation,
hmm.
get really good with your foundation, and then you can save your time, save your money, for when you do, right? So like those folks, um, you know, and actually with, you may even want to spend a little bit more time learning networking, learning web technologies. Although I think in our programs we have electives that you could do that with to address that. And sometimes it'll be a little bit of self-paced learning I've seen where there'll be a side track. Oh, you haven't learned Linux. Well, here's this like self-paced learning that you can do
Mm,
and you have the flexibility of saying, well, I'm going to sign up for the certified ethical hacker, but I've got this self-paced learning over here if I want to
mm,
develop some of the base skills.
mm,
And
mm.
so, my hill's going to be a little steeper when I start, but I can actually start and be in a cohort and working with a group of people. So, um,
Nice.
you know,
So that's the way to go about it. You just don't have to follow the linear path of first doing the theory or self-paced content and then coming to practice. That's what you're saying. Right. Amazing. Okay, I think let's proceed and we'll take some more questions in a while. Just one quick question that we have. Sumit has a question. In the upcoming years, I mean, of course, we're also going to be using a lot of AI in ethical hacking as well, not limited to, it's not limited just to the other domains of cybersecurity, but we're going to be using AI as well. So how does one prepare for this? Um, Again, are there specific tools that are evolving, that are upcoming?
Um, well, what's great, I love the EC Council has that whole lab environment available, and they
Mm,
have the Parrot, and like Parrot has it's your Swiss Army knife of tools,
wow.
and it's Linux, so if it doesn't have a specific tool, you can download it and install it into it.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, so I mean, those are they really the lab environment is just phenomenal. That EC Council provides. It really goes in depth. You're on an actual system, and the labs are really good as far as walking you through, step by step.
Right, absolutely. So a lot of you guys are getting a little restless about questions. Do not worry, guys. We're here to answer all of your questions. But first, see, the point of this session is to help you understand what your learning path should be to become an ethical hacker, right? So we're just getting to that, and then we'll take questions on how you can. I think Bill has already spent sufficient time in helping you understand how you should go about cracking your first opportunity. But let's just understand in depth what you should do to become an ethical, what you should learn to become an ethical hacker, and then we'll take you through the course as well. Yeah. So yeah, Will, what do you think is, the learning path to follow? I'll just switch slides as we speak, maybe.
Yep. So you start with the basics of cybersecurity. What is phishing?
Mm,
And I could say, phishing, vishing, smishing, squishing, right? All those, the ishings, right? Social engineerings,
mm,
malware, different types of malware,
mm,
um, and understanding the motives, the cybersecurity fundamentals. Like,
mm, mm,
you mean people are out there to get us? Yes.
mm, mm,
But you start with the cybersecurity fundamentals, and yeah, to be able to, if you go on to, a Linux command system, you're going to be in a command line, and understand the networking basics, like how does this data, how does all the internet connect, and understanding how it works helps you then understand how someone could find a weakness in the
mm,
way that works.
mm,
It's not all, it's not magic. I know when I deal with my in-laws, there's a lot of magic involved, and it's oh, no, there's not magic, but yes, we get them squared away, and cybersecurity, learning the networking basics, and we answered that question earlier. Do I need a high-end networking cert? No,
mm,
I
mm.
just need to understand the basics,
Yeah.
how the information is transferred, the different pieces of the puzzle at a very high level. And
Mm.
then I think our next one here, number three,
It's
like I said,
very
Linux already.
Linux,
Um,
yeah.
you know, it's really those two are really close together
Mm,
because you're used to Windows, it's point and click, and Linux, you're at a command line. But the and
sorry.
that's where all your most of your good penetration testing tools are going to be in Linux.
Mm, mm,
And you explore the tools.
Mm,
And someone earlier had mentioned Burp Suite in the chat, and yeah, we do use Burp Suite in the curriculum for the web penetration testing, Metasploit,
mm,
Nmap, Wireshark. You will learn a lot by using these tools, and it's really funny. These are tools that, in one hand, they're a security assessment tool.
mm,
In
mm,
in someone else's hand,
mm.
it's a weapon. You know,
Right.
it's like picking up a hammer. I can use a hammer because I want to construct a deck for the back of my house. I want
Mm,
to put some framing together. It's a
mm,
constructive purpose. Or, I could be, well, like the old deck, when the deck has been there for 20 years.
mm,
Yes, now I'm using the hammer to destroy the deck,
mm,
right? I'm purposely causing damage. And so you explore these tools, and a lot of them are open source. In the Burp Suite, there's a community edition which you can. I've had professional consultants that I've hired for paid them, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're like, yeah, we don't need the professional edition. We'll just use the community edition.
Got it.
So the community edition, open source edition is usually very good
Mm, mm,
and will get the job done.
mm. Understood. All right, great, great. So of course, the last step would be to earn a certification to demonstrate their skills and their knowledge, right? What would you recommend for an ethical hacker apart from CEH? Are there any other certifications that we would recommend?
Network Plus and Security Plus. If you're and those folks, if you are transitioning, those certifications can be excellent, because you say, I was in this line of field before, but now I've passed this certification, and if I can pass a CompTIA, Network Plus, or Security Plus, that's a very good indication that I've got the basics
Hmm,
under wraps.
hmm,
And the I wouldn't go to for CEH first.
hmm,
Like if and I know what he's wearing an EC Council shirt, and he's saying don't go for CEH first. Believe it or not, even EC Council has a certification that is geared towards those people just starting out in cybersecurity. But you know what's great about the CompTIA Security Plus exam? It shows up on the HR lists. It shows up in the job descriptions that you want. And so now what you're doing is you're saying, okay, job description, you want to see Network Plus, Security Plus. Look, I have it. So those of you who are transitioning, right, changing your domains, right, you're matching more of the buzzwords. So you're improving your
hmm,
likelihood of
hmm,
getting that first role.
hmm,
These are recognized because
hmm.
there are industry or large organizations, HPs and Microsofts of the world, Amazon, Googles of the world, that are part of the advisory boards for these certifications. So
Got
they're
it.
not just made up out of thin air,
Hmm.
and it's
Understood.
multiple vendors, it's cross vendor. So it makes you more
Um,
attractive.
hmm,
And usually Security Plus and CEH, that's a real good combination there.
got it.
And I find most people who do the CEH could actually go back and get the
Mhm.
Security Plus.
Mhm.
For folks who are anxious to get something and get working right away, then the Security Plus could be that stepping stone.
Hmm. What about CISSP? So if someone has a CISSP, wants to get into ethical hacking, should they be starting with these as well, or is the CISSP enough? With the
Well, it
CI.
depends what you want to do. I think it depends what you want to do here, right?
Mm,
Um, and normally I think of the CEH on my way to CISSP.
mm,
That's usually my way of thinking. And I'm also trying to think of the DoD 8570, the DoD 8140, the Department of Defense, their workforce requirements. If you look at the requirements, the CISSP is more of an overarching kind of certification. It's more that governance and risk and compliance. And the CEH is more focused specifically on performing those engagements.
mm,
Now, I'm a CISSP. And I think I got my CISSP first. So you don't have to necessarily follow all of these rules in exact orders. It depends what works for you.
Right.
Um,
Got it. Got it.
I happen to be at a point where, I had my Security Plus and I knew the CISSP was the next on my list and I was able to do it. And the CEH, um, it was like, well, maybe at some point in time, but my career where I wanted to go right then, the CISSP was a great fit for me. And then what happened was about 2 years later, I got my CEH because I wanted to expand that little path to see how that path would look for me if I was interested in it. And I still find it useful to this day because I have to hire ethical hackers to perform penetration tests on systems. So even though now I'm in a role where my hands are not necessarily on the keyboard day in and day out, I need to know what they can and should be doing because otherwise I don't want our organization to
Hmm.
be wasting our money.
Right. So Bill, let's talk about career roadmap as well. So a lot of learners be getting a lot of questions on, can freshers get a job? Can I become an SOC analyst? What jobs can I get after this course? Does someone have to have experience in the field? So what kind of roles can they pick up? If you can just take us through the entry level, mid level, and the advanced level roles that one can take up.
Right. So going back to number one, I mentioned the service desk or security analyst. That's
Hmm.
something that if you have a security plus,
Hmm.
um, that would get you that role.
Hmm.
If you have um, a CEH includes everything in the security, virtually everything in the security plus. So
Hmm. Hmm.
if you have a CEH, it still makes you a good fit there.
Hmm.
You're monitoring systems.
Hmm.
And then when we look at the next level, you're moving. I mentioned, you might get to vulnerability analysis or
Hmm.
threat intelligence searching,
Hmm.
and because you've done this security analyst, you've seen some attacks. Now you've seen the aftermath of an attack, and now you proactively start looking for attacks. You're
Hmm.
proactively looking for vulnerabilities. In your testing systems in a legal way with permission, of course.
Hmm.
Um, and working for an organization with
Got it.
you would perform these, and within the organization you might be performing some vulnerability scans and penetration tests.
Hmm.
And then as we go to the next level, here at the ethical hacker security consultants, you're coming in, and this is where a lot of you have the experience of working with multiple organizations, and so you might be working from project to project to project. And so you're getting those skills as a security consultant. And
Hmm.
it'll be security consultant, principal security consultant.
Hmm.
And if you're conducting these penetration tests, you're also one of the outcomes of any good penetration test report is you're suggesting how to remediate. Well, yeah, and that's, I did XYZ, and these, like one or two things might be good ways for you to fix it. You're not necessarily fixing it for them, but you're pointing them in the right path. And so that's where a security consultant can be very valuable to an organization.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I think the next slide, sometimes people call it the chief information security officer or the chief security officer, cybersecurity engineers. Yeah, you've worked with many systems at this point, and you become responsible for designing and implementing systems that organizations are putting into place. And you start to understand some of the strategy elements. And this is where it's funny, the CISSP and EC Council has a certification. It's referred to as the CCISO
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, certification. Now, and I'm on the fence right now. They're both good certifications. Although it's funny, most of the people I know who have the CCISO also have the CISSP. So I'm like, well, gee, sounds like I could get what I want with the CISSP. So, but you're setting up a program and you're leading that program.
Got it. Got it. All right. All right. Thanks so much for taking us through the career roadmap. I hope that addresses your growth path as well. A lot of you were asking us questions about jobs. right? So, Bill, there's an interesting question from Daniel. He teaches Introduction to Ethical Hacking and Computer Forensics to prepare students for taking certification exams, even though he does not have certifications in them. So, why should one pursue these certifications when teaching them doesn't require, I mean, teaching these topics doesn't require a certification? Okay, I'm not sure why he asked this question though. So anyway, if you
I
can. So
I
he,
don't know if it's Daniel. There's a Daniel I know, and if it's the Daniel I know, if you're causing trouble, Daniel, I'll talk with you later. Um, I don't know if it's I just know his I know just we just know Daniel's first name. So let me answer this question. There are, and I know people that obtained certifications and then let them lapse.
Hmm.
And I do know people who teach people and they don't have the certifications. And they say, well, I learned through experience. I'll take a page from the HR playbook for a second and go, you know, how do I know that you could, how do I know? What is the measurement of your skill level? And that's where certifications give us, it's a known baseline. It's a benchmark that we can go by and say, oh, so you think, oh, so you think you know how to hack a system, and you look for a certification. And that is a benchmark of, yes, I have these skills. Um, CISSP. How do I know that you understand information security? Oh, well, because you passed the CISSP exam, right? It's a challenging exam. It's got some rigor. And, I think I personally, every time I'm teaching these classes, I have the requisite certification before I teach it. I
Hmm.
just have to, because how do I know that I know enough? Because the idea that part of the idea is also you have the certification because that's what employers are looking for. So how can I impart the skills that employers are looking for? Well, I should go through the curriculum myself
Hmm.
and pass the requisite exam, you
Hmm.
know. So, for years, I think the only time I have not had a certification for a class I taught was Microsoft Office, probably about 25 years ago. But I knew more than they knew about Microsoft Office, and I think they had a Microsoft Office user specialist, but um, if you were using Microsoft Office, you knew what you were doing. But ever since then, I've pretty much always had the requisite certifications. I recommend anybody have the requisite certifications before they attempt to teach any classes. You've
Got it.
gone through the material. You know what people should know. And sometimes, every so often, there will be topics we'll say, okay, this is something for the exam. Somebody said this was important. I'm going to teach you that it's important. And part of the reason I also want you to get through the interview.
Hmm.
And you know what? I know I've heard a lot of people start to pick on the OSI model, and they're starting to go, well, I don't need to know that. I said, well, no, it's great for understanding the concepts. Like, do I have to sit there and go, well, this is a layer 2 device or a layer 3 device? It's good to be able to provide an answer so you understand where things are in the stack.
Great. Thank
Am I going to get in and sit there and go, oh, this is layer 4? No, right?
you.
But understanding the concepts gets you that framework. And so, yeah, sometimes there are topics that people are like, why are we talking about the OSI model? So I can understand what's going on, so I can troubleshoot what's going on. And you're like, well, but I'm not using the OSI model when I troubleshoot. Yes, you are, because you're identifying whether it's a routing issue or a permissions issue, or is the traffic even getting to the destination? What traffic are you seeing? Uh, you know, is it an application logic issue? You have, and that's where understanding some of those topics, people say, well, why do I have to know the OSI model? Believe it or not, you're using it. You don't realize it, but you're using it. And so that's part of why it is part of like, sometimes there will be topics that are part of curriculums. And it's these days, I will say, We have applicant tracking systems that are powered by AI. When you are looking to get a job, you want to make that applicant tracking system as happy as possible. You want you want your score to be way up here, because if you're not high enough, you're not getting a call. You could be the smartest person on earth. So, uh, now I'm not saying get everything. Figure out what you want to do, and get those, get the education, get the certification that goes with it. I always tell everybody, if you're in this class, you get a voucher. And
Yeah,
not, whether it's CEH or the
yeah,
CISA or the CISSP, if there's a certification, you go get that, because
yes.
it's like a seal that says I attended this course, and I not only did I show up, but I passed the test.
Hmm.
I actually was paying attention and I learned. So
Correct. Absolutely. So a little more to add to what Bill just said is that all you need is to have an undergraduate degree or a high school diploma to be a part of this course, and just a minimum of 2 years of IT or relevant experience. Again, this is not exactly mandatory for you to be a part of the course, but it's just recommended, right? So these are just eligibility criteria. And like Bill mentioned, so the CEH V13 exam voucher is also included here. We are also the accredited training partner of EC Council, who offers this certification, and you get access to the official study materials from EC Council, along with coverage in 20 domains of the CEH curriculum, right? So you also have hands-on practice, like what Bill mentioned. You a little earlier, he mentioned that you've got hands-on practice demos and AI labs featuring more than 4,000 integrated tools. So someone was asking how AI is changing things up and how can I be prepared? This is how you can be prepared, right? So this course offers that, and EC Council, I mean, the CEH V13 includes this feature as well. So that's just a little bit about the course and what you'll be learning. Bill, if you can just highlight this in brief, we've already done a lot of detail into what they learn, what they should learn. So maybe just a high level explanation of what skills one can learn through this course.
So with the certified ethical hacker, you learn the ethical hacking techniques, and I mentioned the workflow earlier. That you go through the reconnaissance and the enumeration, the footprinting and enumeration. You get your initial access, and then you elevate. And you get your persistence. Now you can use AI to automate a lot of that, to perform scans for vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
The automate those assessments, and the threat detection. We talk about that as well. Now, because um, how do you become a good hacker? Don't get caught. It's, so we talk about it. It's how does an organization detect and respond to threats? And because the folks who are attending a CEH class, and the way the curriculum is designed is, yes, I want to break into a system. Yes, I want to understand what the threats are so I can put the protective measures in place to keep people out.
Right. Got it. Got it. Understood. So that's what you'll be learning as a part of this course. And we've already talked about the future of ethical hacking, what's coming up in cyber threats. We've already talked about that. So Amin has a question here, Bill. How are political factors or ideas? Um, okay, I couldn't understand the later part of the question. So maybe if you can frame the question properly.
Perfect.
Yeah. Political factors or ideas are now becomes the part. Okay, I didn't get the question. Sorry, Amin. You should be, elaborate while you post the question. Make sure it's clear the first time. And I'm also responding to a few questions there on the Q&A box as and where possible. Okay, so if someone is with a CEH V12 credential, when is it time to renew and, or will it be automatically upgraded?
All right. So that's an excellent question. CEH
Mhm.
version 12 uh, was ISO accredited. ISO accredited, you do have to pay There's an annual maintenance fee of, I believe it's $80 US currently,
Mhm.
that you have to pay to EC Council, and you have to report continuing professional education. They call them ECEs, EC Council Continuing Education, and you have to report those credits every 3 years. And if you do that, you stay a CEH forever. Now,
Hmm.
why would I attend a CEH version 13 class? One of the reasons is I get to claim ECEs for attending this class.
Right. Hmm.
Yes, I could, those credits that I have to earn, I can get them this way. And a lot of folks, maybe you have an employer that will reimburse for a training class.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
is a good way to upgrade. Or if you let your certification lapse. I do run into people that let their certification lapse.
Hmm.
And I scratch my head, like, okay. Um, and those sometimes they're the kind of people that they'll call me like a year or two later. How come I can't get a job? And I ask them what certifications do you have, and they say, well, I don't have any now. I said, well, your career, you're in charge of your own career. So you make your own choices, and choosing to further yourself, then you need to maintain it, right? You need to keep it up to date.
Yeah.
Uh, so people with a CEH version 12,
Mhm.
um, you could attend a class such as this, and you could use it for continuing education.
Got it.
And it does have the extensive AI upgrades. There's a whole series of labs on the AI.
Got it. All right. Thanks so much, Bill, for answering that. And you take, the time to answer everything in details that there's no ambiguity or there's no lack of clarity. Great. So I think we are done with those questions. What else you will learn? You will also understand about cloud security. Through this course, you will understand how AI and ML or AI powered, how AI powered threat detection happens. And like we mentioned in the beginning of the session, so there are also IoT-based attacks. So CEH V13 equips you to understand how you can secure devices and help you understand how you can do that as well. Yeah. So this is just a gist of what the course covers. And this is, so of course, this is for the CEH V11. Sorry, it's not the updated certificate. But if you're looking, you're trying to understand how your certificate looks like, here you go. This is what you receive. Oh, wait. Course page also has an outdated one, but yeah, you will receive an updated certificate with CH V13, right? So what you can do is you can check out all these details on the course page, okay? I'm just sharing the link on the chat right here. And let's say you are interested in being a part of our upcoming cohort, which starts on the 20th of April. These are weekend classes, and let's say you want to take up any other cohort based on your convenience, you can also do that. So these are your weekend cohorts. These are your weekday cohorts, right? So you can see that this is the course fee with the discount applied. And if you want a further discount, you can also reach out to our learning advisors through the poll that I am about to launch, right? So through this poll, what you're going to do is you are going to give your interest in enrolling in the CEH V13 course. Now, if you're wondering what the course fee is in the US and in the other regions and wherever you are, check out the link that I've shared on the chat, right? So you will be able to see that, and that's how you understand what the course fee is, okay? And what exactly is this Flexi Pass? So basically, you have the facility to reschedule your cohort after you've enrolled. Let's say you're not ready to start on the 20th of April. What you can do is you can reschedule your cohort within the first 90 days of enrolling. Okay, so that's how the Flexi Pass works. And of course, you have the entire class calendar here as to when the classes will happen. So this is basically a month-long course, and this is the duration of each of these classes, right? And how the curriculum is built, we've already talked about that, but in case you want to take a look at it, take a look at it on the course page and understand how all of these modules are built, ordered. Okay, right? And you have the facility to download the syllabus and understand what it offers in detail. Okay, yeah.
Oh, and I'll mention here, someone earlier had asked about what's the workflow. If you look
Mm-hmm.
at those 20 domains in order,
Hmm.
the beginning domains
Hmm.
map to the workflow pretty closely.
Right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Understood. So I think with that, we're pretty much done addressing about the course. I'm just going to leave the link to the course page here. And let's just go back to the certificate that you will receive. This is how it looks like. Now, in case you would like to be contacted by a learning advisor, what you have to do is, we'll just come to this. What you have to do is to select a yes on the poll and make sure you tell your learning advisor. If you live in the US, you will receive a call very, very soon. But let's say you live in India, you will receive a call tomorrow. Okay, so you can complete your payment and be a part of the upcoming cohort. It's as simple as that, right? And this is the course fee for anyone in the US, and you've also got options to, financing options to ease the burden on your pocket. Yeah. So let's just take a look at some success stories that our learners have had. So these are our past learners and what they have to say about the certified ethical hacking course, right? So if you can see Anushka, she had a career shift in cybersecurity into ethical hacking and eventually into cybersecurity. So this particular course helped her do that, right? And if you can see Shekhar, he is a CEO at Grassdew IT Solutions, and he completed the CHV10 and was easy to understand. He would recommend it to anyone transitioning or understanding ethical hacking, right? So more of these stories are available for you to read on the course page that I've shared. Please definitely take a look at them and also understand their journeys before you take a decision, right? So what does one do if one is a beginner? Should they still go about enrolling, taking up the course? What's your advice, Bill?
I mean, you know, if you're looking at a program like this, it's um you're starting from scratch is normal. You have no knowledge of hacking, right? Before you start, you have no knowledge of cybersecurity, and don't let yourself get paralyzed, right? If you think it's interesting, then do it, right?
Mm.
Now the advantage of taking a class is that it is a structured learning path, and and because it's a cohort, we have a set schedule. We have to get through all of that material in a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. If you're trying to get something done, you make it a little project for yourself. I will sometimes see people that say, "Well, I'm just going to do this," and like it's reading a book, or it's, "Well, I'll be on the internet," and I'll be talking to them like 2 years later, "How are you doing?" And they haven't done it yet, right? Because something else comes up, right? So the modules are the modules, they sort of they do ease you into it a little bit, right? So we're not gonna go, okay, today we're gonna exploit and get a remote shell on a system on day one. No, we don't start there, right? We understand the the footprinting and reconnaissance that we have to perform, right? Because the goal is to be, when you do an ethical hacking engagement, you want to use the same skills as the attackers, which could be nation states. Maybe that was that question about politics earlier. There are nation
Mm.
state actors, cyber warfare that's taking place,
Yeah.
right? And so you're performing an ethical hacking engagement so that you know that your systems are not going to fall over right away because you're using the same skills that they use. But the modules are set up so that it sort of ramps up.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and of course, when you're taking a course, you have a lab environment. Like, today you could set up virtual labs on your own.
Mm.
You can do that, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the EC Council, I don't know, I think it's called CyberQ now. It's like, is it iLabs or is it CyberQ? But they're great labs, and you don't have to set it up on your machine. And there's this great little button that if you totally mess something up, you reset it, and it's back to square one. instantaneously, and you didn't
Right.
take out that system that you were counting on to do, your day to day. Like, oh well, I have my day to day. I have to balance my checkbook and things like that. Oh my gosh, I typed a command wrong. Well, it doesn't matter. It's in the lab environment. So, just hit the reset button. You're done. You're good. And
Right.
and it's great. It's a great way to, yeah, if you're starting out, to work in that safe environment.
Understood. Um, Great. I think we have covered most questions here, Bill, and we've also helped a lot of beginners understand what they should do, right? And understand that starting from scratch is totally okay. We've helped you with the learning path. We've also helped you how it can open you up to the roles that, entry level and also mid-level roles. So if you're looking for those roles, this is the right certification for you to pursue. Someone on the Q&A box asked me this question as to how they can transition. So this is your answer. I mean, we've already addressed that through the entire session. So you should be able to, kind of gather insights now and apply it as well, and eventually enroll into the CHV13 course, right? So people who have given a yes on this particular poll, you will receive a call from the learning advisor asking you about your enrollment in the program, right? So remember that the course fee for India learners, like I said, is 49,999. This is with the discount applied. So you should be, able to obviously enroll in the next cohort if you have your finances available and everything else sorted. You should be able to start as soon as 20th April. Yeah. So be prepared for having this conversation. Also, be prepared with questions that you would want to ask them. And also, if you're in the US, your course fee is $1,950, right? So I'm going to be closing down the poll in the next half a minute. So in case someone is still interested in taking this up, you can click a yes on the poll and someone will reach out to you, right? So if you've got more questions for Bill, please make sure you put them on the Q&A box and we'll address them. But otherwise, it was a great session. Thanks so much, Bill, as always, for enlightening the learners with knowledge about the CEH, especially about the ethical hacking, what's coming up. It was interesting for me as well to listen and understand what happens in this domain, right? Do you also have closing thoughts? Because we're just about to wrap up in the next 5 minutes after we, help learners
Yep.
understand how they can get these certificates. Yeah. Yeah.
And so there are many paths that you can take, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to choose your path.
Hmm.
And like someone said, are there free cybersecurity certifications? I can't think of one. The closest I get is AWS or Amazon, and then I realized that the free thing is sort of like it's like, here's your free one, like it's like a dog treat that I would give my dog. Here's this free treat. And you know what?
Hmm.
Next week, I have to go buy that treat. So it's sort of, they get you started. And,
Hmm. Hmm.
like ISC2 has one. It's the certified in cybersecurity, but I think the course is free for a lot of people, but then you have to pay an annual maintenance fee.
Right.
And now that you're doing it, you want to get another certification anyway.
Right.
So because it's just getting you started. There are other certifications that are more expensive.
Hmm. Hmm.
I try not to mention other vendors out there. Like there are some that are about the same price as
Hmm.
the CEH,
Hmm.
but they don't. But the certification doesn't renew.
Hmm.
What? So every 3 years, every 2 to 3 years, I have to come back and retake the whole thing all over again. And we
Hmm.
had that one learner who has the CEH version 12. I'm like, well, it's an option for you. You don't have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I did years ago. I had like I don't know, really old CEH, and I maintained it. I kept it up to date. And then finally I said, it's been a few versions. I'm going to take the new version. I want to take the new version. I want to get access to all the new material. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Right. And I got my continuing education credits and got myself back up, up to current versions. And it was a good experience. The so from time to time, yeah, you're going to have to come back, but it's nice that you have a choice. It's nice that you
Yes.
have a
Yes.
choice whether you want to
Yes.
take the certification all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and you could do this, programs like this, you can get done in a few months.
Hmm.
Over the course of a few weeks, you're going to get done this program. and that will be something that you can make a difference.
Yeah.
And you know, they're very good, you know. And then if those of you you're looking for work, I think it's perfect. If this gets you that job that then helps you get your tuition reimbursed,
Mm.
I love that.
Mm.
You know, if you're, you know, take advantage of those and start doing things that you like,
Mm.
and have fun and be creative. But if it's going to be well, but with permission.
Right. Got it. Great. That was great parting advice, Bill. Thank you so much for your time once again. And I'm just closing this poll that asks your interest right now. Thank you so much. About close to 50 people actually expressed interest in the certification, which is actually amazing. Great. So you guys will be receiving calls, and you can get your queries addressed. Now, what I'm going to do is to launch a poll asking your full name for the webinar certificate, right? So please make sure you enter your full name correctly without entering your email ID or anything else in that blank, because if that happens, we're just filtering out your name and then you won't receive the certificate. So make sure you're entering your name properly. Okay, right. Other than that, I think we're pretty much done. If you've entered your name, if you don't have any other questions, we're done with the session. It was great bringing this session to you. Now, what I'm going to do is to open the chat box and actually ask you guys, because we did this the last time. If you remember, Bill, the last time we'd asked learners a question on what they would like to hear next, right? And CEH was on the top of the list. So if there's anything else that the learners would like to say about the session or what you would like to see next, just let us know on the chat. No, not your names. We would love to hear your thoughts about the session, what you liked about it, and what you would like to hear next. That's what we would like to see. Yeah, great. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Yash, Shaheen, Alina. Pen testing. Okay. What else you want to learn? Amazing. Oh, okay. Okay. DevOps, right? We got that yesterday as well. Useful. Thank you, everyone else. Shravanti, thank you for your inputs. DevOps security, right? I'm going to take a quick snapshot of these chat messages so that I don't forget. Thank you, Annapurna. Thank you, Shepard. Great. IoT security is what you want to learn. Okay. That's okay, Afolian. It's okay. Great. Thank you, Sharahat. Glad that we were able to address your questions. Input form is already launched for the certificate, so please enter your names. I mean, that would become too much for us to discuss. You're not a news channel. We're only offering certification training to you. So that would just become too high level for anyone to understand. So I think the newspaper is the best place for you to do this, you to learn about this. Zoom user, please use the poll. If you're not joining us on Zoom app, you won't be able to see the poll. Okay? Yeah. Right. But ethical hacking, we just did a session on ethical hacking. DevSecOps, that's an interesting input though. Great, great, great. Thank you so much. Great. I
Well,
just
if you
also,
want to learn about
huh?
cybersecurity, join us. If you want to learn about cybersecurity, join one of the programs.
Yes,
I
absolutely. So
mean,
there are also more programs, which Bill is the trainer for. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. You train for the Purdue course, the cybersecurity Purdue course? Yeah.
mhm. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
I've done the Purdue course. I've done ISACA courses. I've done ISC2 courses. I've done PMI courses.
Wow.
I'm trying to think what, and that's just for Simplilearn. Then I go, whoa, in the back of my head, I think I was um Grandmaster CIW developer. I was like, where the heck did it? They didn't even advertise it in the North America. And I
Oh,
got an email one day that says, "Oh, you're a grand webmaster." I'm like, "What?"
wow.
But I've
Amazing.
taught, so there are so
Pretty
many
much
paths that you can
everything
take.
that you see, except for the India courses, of course. I think pretty much everything that one sees on this list has been taught by Bill at some point or the other. So, yeah, of course, there are more trainers like Bill who will be as passionate to teach. And, we're looking forward to seeing you guys as well in the upcoming cohorts. Great. Thank you so much for your entries. And thank you so much for taking the time out for attending this session. Bill, thanks once again. It was great hosting you. And yeah, until another time, I guess. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yep, yep.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thanks.